We're going to give it a minute or two longer here before we get kicked off. All right, gang, we are a couple minutes in here. I'm still missing one, but I don't want to hold up our day. So I think it's probably wise. We'll just iterate as we go, like good businesses do. And so we will get started. So first off, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. This is going to be a really exciting series that we're lucky to be a part of to kind of help small businesses be a resource and work through some of the things that everybody battles in the current new world of COVID that we're living in. We're really lucky to have some great panelists join us today. But today's main topic that we're going to be going over is just COVID-19 response funding resources and what's going on in the from either the state or federal level, as well as other support systems that are there for small business. And so we're just thankful everybody's here to be part of this today. I'm really excited to be able to help put this on. So you're going to probably next ask, who are you? So I'm Jeff Zentz. I'm the Indiana director for Generator here in Indianapolis. So I've been with the company since September of last year, been able to be a part of a lot of really exciting things. Our main product offering that you may recognize us from is called G-Beta. We've run a lot of G-Beta cohorts here in central Indiana and Indiana in general. But we've also been part of some of the emergency response programming that went out earlier in the year in response to what was the PPP plan that came out and the EIDL funding options and some of those things to help out small Main Street business, as well as our normal, more high scale venture backable companies that we typically have worked with in the past. And so Generator is going to be kind of the point people to help run this series. And so you'll see me or some of my, my associates working on this, hosting these, because the exciting part is that partnering with the Indiana SBDC, this is part of the Small Business Resiliency and Recovery Training Series. So we're fortunate enough to bring in different topics each week. And so we're going to have every Friday from this point through March of 2021 as of right now, and it may go longer. We will have a lunch and learn at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Friday going forward. We'll give you a little bit of a preview of what's coming down the road, but today's we'll be getting into the overall COVID response funding options as a whole. So with that, you're not here to hear me talk, so I will be quiet and allow our speakers, who are experts, to hop in here and talk a little bit about what they do and what they specialize in. So we're lucky enough to have Lori Felt from the ISBDC. She's the Northwest Regional Director. Lindsay Malici from the SBA. She's an Economic Development Specialist. And then Lawrence Walter will be with us today as well. He's from the IEDC, and he's the VP of Product Development. Couple really quick plugs before I turn it over to Lori first. Please use the chat and the Q&A box if you have questions. So this is meant to help spur some discussion. And we may have the answers, we may not have the answers, but it's really important that if you have questions, you get a chance to ask them so we can either answer them on the spot or be able to follow up with you. And so please use those resources. The chat box and the Q&A box are located at the bottom bar. You should be able to send those through. And with that, I think I will turn it over. I will stop my share screen here, and I will turn it over to Lori.
Thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we are up to at the Small Business Development Center. It's been a busy and kind of crazy time for most everyone, and I appreciate the opportunity to share some of the resources that we have that are directly assisting small business owners through this bit of a roller coaster that we've all been on. So I'll talk a little bit about our basic ISBDC counseling and then some additional resources that we've been able to offer during this COVID period. I hope everybody's enjoying a lunch, and we'll provide a little bit of learning along the way on this Friday. So the Small Business Development Center is a network of small business advisors. You see the map on the right-hand side there, and that's our distribution of 10 regional centers. As Jeff mentioned, I call home Northwest Indiana. So up in the northwest corner of the state, you see the counties that our team represents. But throughout the state, there are business advisors ready to assist you with no-cost advising. And in particular, during this crazy 5 or 6 month period that we've all been through, helping businesses recover from some of the impacts of stay-at-home and the virus situation in general. So our focus as a network and as regional teams is all about small business owners. We also do assist startup entrepreneurs. Our bread and butter, what we offer every day, is one-on-one business counseling. We don't charge for all of those conversations to assist business owners about the variety of things they're facing in terms of reopening, in terms of adjusting to the new normal that we're all in, and so on. We've become quite flexible in how we provide our counseling services. We all have to be agile, right, during this kind of period. So whether it's by phone or video chat or email or sometimes in person lately, we're here to assist small business owners with what you are facing and provide resources to help you with those issues. We do offer as well a number of workshops and events across the state, primarily virtual at this point in time, really hitting on those topics that are sort of most interest right now. So we're listening to small business owners to identify what it is they need to hear about and structuring a workshop around that. After me, you're going to hear about a number of different kinds of funding opportunities, and you've probably become aware and applied for some of the alphabet soup of small business administration programs and state financing programs and others. I would say every day, almost every hour at the SBDC, we're assisting business owners just considering those funding options. We are here to answer their questions about those and help them identify what is the best fit for them in terms of the various funding options that are available. So that's us in a nutshell, and hopefully wherever you are located, you kind of see a regional center that's not far from you on that map. In addition to our regular advisory services, we've been able to make available a number of new resources, especially for COVID-affected businesses. Certainly every business is different. If you've had to close for a significant period of time, let's say your retail or services or restaurant, our businesses have been affected in a lot of different ways by this 5-month period due to COVID. So I'd like to highlight just a few of the resources that are targeted to assist what business owners are dealing with now. You see at the top of the list there something called Project Hope. This is an opportunity for eligible small businesses to get, at no cost to them, a website developed or perhaps enhance their current website or otherwise increase their online or e-commerce capability. And this is in partnership with the IU Kelley School of Business, who are fielding a great team of master's student interns to deliver website development services to our small business clients. This has really been an amazing experience so far to make this available to small businesses. I believe the number now is 125 new websites have been created by the IU Kelley team as part of Project Hope. And they're working hard every day to deliver more websites or enhanced websites for small businesses. So I think the Project Hope program is a really great way to assist small businesses who may not have the budget to set up a new website or improve what they've got. But here's another way to get that done. And boy, now more than ever, we all need to look capable on digital and improve our presence there. Another aspect of what business owners are going through is this whole return to work and reopening journey that we're all on. You can see I'm in the office today, but a number of our staff are working remote. So one of the COVID resources that we share with businesses on our website is First Person, a firm that's expert in HR, benefits, and compensation advisory services. And they've set up a resource hub and some webinars and a focus on return to work through a toolkit, which I think will really address some of those many questions that we're all facing as we work through the process going forward. Every business is different and how we're doing that is different, but their expert resources are a great help. I would like to point out also in terms of COVID-related resources, each of the regional centers across the state is providing specialty resources and webinars in those hot areas, which tend to be digital marketing, social media, bookkeeping, and others. So you'll find an opportunity through your local center to access some specific resources that we've been able to bring online to assist you as you're looking at issues and opportunities in many of those areas. Certainly a COVID resource that we're participating for the first time today is this actual business resiliency and recovery series, where, as Jeff pointed out, every week on Friday, you have an opportunity to hear more about services and topics that are of interest to you. If you're not aware of our bread and butter everyday types of business advising resources, I want to share with you that we help every day with folks developing and in tweaking their business plan and identifying sources of financing to get to where they need to be. And part of that certainly is assisting folks with understanding some of the financing opportunities unique to the COVID period that you'll hear about shortly. A hidden gem of ours is certainly a number of different sources of market research data where you can tap into whether it's demographic, lifestyle, company, industry data. I'll admit it, I'm a little bit of a data nerd, but I know that this kind of knowledge can really be powerful for our business owners, and I've seen that many times. You may not be aware of the fact that ISBDC also offers export assistance throughout the state. So if you are starting to notice interest in your products and services in countries other than the United States, or you're trying to tap into a market outside of the US, we can assist you in doing that successfully. including tapping into the new in-step export assistance grant programs that are available in Indiana. I would say next to business plan and financing, probably the number one topic I keep hearing about from business owners is help me with my marketing. So our business advisors are out there trying to assist as small businesses are doing that pivot or tweaking up what they do to respond to the changes they see with their consumers and customers and different habits that are emerging and how business is changing. So that marketing can be absolutely critical to keep that cash flow going for a small business. Last but certainly not least, we do a fair number of business valuations. That is one of the few, very few services that we charge a little bit for. So this would be in the situation where a business is considering buying or selling a company, maybe going through a transition and possibly selling their own business. We'll do a snapshot valuation at a small charge to try to assist in that early decision-making process. So just to make you aware, business valuations are available through ISBDC as well. What you're looking at here is a screenshot of our website, isbdc.org. If you're interested in obtaining counseling services like I've described or anything else we do, there's a couple of different ways to easily tap into those resources. On our website, you see the links to the left and upper right that say Let's Work Together. You can complete a very short survey form to request counseling locally from wherever you are. The COVID-19 resources that I've mentioned are easily found at the COVID-19 small business resource link that you see in blue or up at the top nav. So please feel free to venture into our website and look at the resources mentioned and others that are available and tap into those that you think will have an impact on your business. That's all I'm going to share for the time being. I'm, of course, available for questions if we got any in the chat. Happy to take a shot at whatever is on your mind.
Thank you, Lori. I think that was really helpful. So there's no questions in the chat box, but I do have a quick question for you. I think that, so what's a prime opportunity for business owners? Should any business owner be getting engaged with the ISBDC? Is that, if you're running a business in the state, should you at some point have connected and worked with your local ISBDC branch?
So I'd recommend taking advantage of the resources that we have. Absolutely. Is it a should? I mean, of course, the business owner has to make that decision on their own, but I think that sometimes running a business, especially the way things are now, is a pretty lonely pursuit. And having a second pair of ears and eyes or a sounding board, a place where you can ask questions and get some resources, pretty good way to go. I'd encourage that.
Awesome. Well, we don't have any other questions. So thank you very much for taking your time to be here with us today. We appreciate it and everything that you guys are doing to help small business throughout the state. We're going to turn it over to Lindsay Malici. Give me 1 second here and I will get her spotlighted so you can see her and not me. Take it away, Lindsay.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
All right, just making sure. Seems like the phrase of the year is, hey, Lindsay, unmute yourself. So thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here with you all this afternoon. Appreciate the opportunity to kind of get you all up to speed on our SBA funding options as they relate to COVID, as well as our longstanding programs. So happy to provide you an update as far as what's currently open, what's closed, and what's coming down the pike. I might have had a little too much coffee this morning, if there is such a thing. So if I whiz through these slides, I've shared them with the organizer, and I'll also have my contact info at the end if you'd like to go back and review them. You can also find this information at sba.gov/coronavirus relief. What I'm going to talk about today is current as of today, August 14th, but you know, with Congress kind of going back and forth, there might be changes coming, so that sba.gov/coronavirus relief is going to be the best place to get updated and accurate information. So let's go. At SBA, we work with entrepreneurs and small businesses to help them start, grow, expand, and especially here lately, recover. So in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have implemented some temporary programs. I'm sure you've heard of them: the Paycheck Protection Program, Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advances. So those two are currently closed. However, we do still have some other options, including SBA debt relief, which I'll go into, and our normal long-standing SBA program. So that includes the economic injury disaster loans themselves. So the advanced grants have run out of funding, but the loans are still there. Our traditional SBA-backed lending options, as well as our boots on the ground resource partners, such as Lori at the ISBDC, to provide no-cost business advising around the state and around the country. So these temporary programs from the CARES Act include the Paycheck Protection Program, or the PPP. A lot of times people confuse that with PPE, but it doesn't really matter. The PPP program is a loan program to help keep workers paid and employed. So it is a loan, however, it is forgivable if at least 60% of the loan proceeds are used on payroll costs. So the last day for lenders to get the borrower applications to SBA was August 8th. And to date, we have approved over 5 million PPP loans worth $525 billion. We've been getting dinged a little bit in the media. So, you know, there have been some larger companies who have been able to access this program, but I did want to point out that the overall average loan amount is $100,000, and over 85% of the PPP loans were under $150K. So that tells me that PPP has been going to help those truly small businesses. So like I said, Congress is kind of going back and forth on what the next iteration of PPP is going to look like. So it is currently closed, but stay tuned for more details. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance was an advance grant on economic injury disaster loans up to $10,000, $1,000 per employee, that did not have to be repaid. So we ran out of funding for that on July 11th, and have given out over 5.8 million advances and hit the cap of 20 million, which was through the CARES Act. But as I mentioned, the disaster loans themselves are still available, so I'll get into some more details on those. Another program that hasn't been talked about quite as much as PPP and EIDL are the debt relief options. So for existing and new SBA-backed loans, which are made through our private lending partners, SBA is offering to pay 6 months of principal and interest payments on the borrower's behalf. So that's a pretty big deal. This is available, like I said, for existing and new SBA-backed loans. However, they have to be made by September 27th. And, you know, a lot of lenders are kind of taking their own stance on providing credit to small businesses. A lot of what their decisions are going to be based on, you know, the typical credit, collateral, et cetera. But they're also going to be very highly projections based. So it's a good idea to work with our resource partners like Lori on developing those financial projections so that you can provide that to the lender and help increase your chances of getting a loan from one of our private lending partners. So PPP, although it is currently closed for applications, I did want to provide a brief overview on the loan forgiveness portion in case you have a PPP loan, or if they open it back up at a later date. As I mentioned, this is current as of today. So there might be some changes, but as of today, the borrower has 24 weeks from the time that their loan is dispersed to spend the funds, or until December 31st. So if you squeaked in there at the end, you'll probably have until December 31st to use those PPP loan funds. We have provided the option to use an alternative payroll covered period. So if your loan was dispersed June 1st, but your next payroll doesn't start until June 7th, you can start that 24-week covered period on June 7th for the payroll expenses. The borrower has 10 months following the end of their covered period to submit their loan forgiveness application to their lender. So not a huge rush. I'm sure some of you would like to get those PPP loans off your books, but some lenders we're hearing are even holding off on submitting those applications to SBA because of the changes that might be coming from Congress to make it even easier for small businesses with PPP loans to qualify for forgiveness, especially those loans under $150,000. So, but as of right now, if you are a self-employed individual, independent contractor, or sole proprietor, we have an easy version of the forgiveness application. It's only a couple pages long. So if you're in that self-employed category, or if you did not reduce your salary or wages by more than 25% during your covered period, or did not reduce the number of employees or hours worked during your covered period, then you can use this 2-page easy form to apply for loan forgiveness. However, we understand that sometimes even those requirements might have not been possible to attain. So we have some safe harbors in place to not ding you on your loan forgiveness amount if you weren't able to rehire your employees, if they refused your offer, or if you weren't able to find qualified individuals to come on board. We're not going to ding you for that. We're also not going to ding you if you weren't able to return to your normal business operation levels. We had stay-at-home orders. We've got CDC guidance and local ordinances that might have prevented, normal business operations. So we have those safe harbors in place. If you did have to reduce the salary or wages by more than 25%, or aren't able to check one of these boxes, then we have the regular loan forgiveness application form. Requires a little bit of extra math, but hopefully 24 weeks will be plenty of time for borrowers to spend that money, hit that 60% payroll cap, and get 100% loan forgiveness. But if you're not able to hit that 60% on payroll, you can still qualify for partial forgiveness. Any remaining balance left over is going to have a maturity of 5 years at a 1% interest for that loan. If your loan was dispersed prior to June 5th, you can have 2 or 5 years if you can negotiate 5 years with your lender. What else did I want to mention here? If you have one of those EIDL advance grants, just want you to be aware that the EIDL advance amount would be deducted from your PPP loan forgiveness. So you can have both, but the EIDL advance amount would be deducted from your PPP loan forgiveness amount. You can have an EIDL loan and a PPP loan as long as you're not using the funds from both programs for the same expense at the same time. So no dual benefits there. So whereas the PPP is made through our private lending partners, and by the way, we're so appreciative of our banks, credit unions, CDFIs, fintechs who have been participating in PPP. SBA is a small agency. There's no way we could have done that directly. So we really appreciate our lending partners engaging on that delegated program. The economic injury disaster loans come directly from SBA, and these are long-term, low-interest working capital loans. So up to a term of 30 years at 3.75% interest rate for small businesses. So these loans are not to expand your facility. They are not to acquire fixed assets. They are really designed to help you pay your bills and pay for those normal operating expenses during this time, considering that your revenue might be down. So, so far we've approved 3.4 million EIDL loans for $178 billion. The advanced grants, as I mentioned, have run out of funding at this point, but we're still processing those loan applications through our disaster assistance office. So if you've got a question on your specific disaster loan application, you can reach out to disaster customer service at sba.gov. They are processing those on a first come, first served basis as long as funding is available. But sometimes the loan processor will need to come back and get more information from you. So that might require some additional time. But your best bet is to work with our disaster assistance office. Out here in the field, we don't have access to that IDLE system. So unfortunately, we're not able to, check status updates and things like that for you. So we've still got our longstanding SBA programs out there. Our bread and butter programs are our SBA-backed loans, and these are working capital loans. These are fixed asset financing loans. There are a lot of different programs under this umbrella of SBA-backed loans. Everything, we've got microloans up to $50,000, and those often have like a technical assistance component to, help kind of hold a small business borrower's hand or help them develop an area of their business that might need some more attention. So that's a great option that can sometimes offer more flexible terms than a bank loan. We also have a community advantage loan program up to $250,000, which is targeted at the underserved community. So that is an option available through our partners at Bankable. And then we've got, our SBA-backed loan programs with our private lending partners, including the banks and the credit unions, et cetera, which go up to $5 million. So you don't need to know all the ins and outs of each and every program, but just to know that there are still lending options out there. Like I said, a lot of those decisions that the lenders make are going to be projection-based. So it's really important that you're working with our partners like Lori to help develop those financial projections. I mentioned our debt relief, but I think it's really important just to mention it again. SBA will pay 6 months of principal and interest on the small business borrower's behalf. We've got some what we call SBA Express lenders that have delegated authority to turn around SBA-backed loans without a lot of oversight from SBA, and they can do that a little quicker than some of our other loan programs. So it might be worth checking with your lender to see if they are an express lender and have the ability to work with you on that. I did want to mention too, for fixed asset financing, we have what we call a 504 program, which is a partnership between a lender like a bank or a credit union and a certified development corporation, a CDC. And the CDC will take a portion of that loan, the lender will take the other portion, and the borrower will inject at least 10%. The CDC portion, the interest rates on that are crazy low right now, under 3%. So, if you're looking for fixed asset financing, that is a great option right now. And you can, reach out to me if you need help finding a lender, or we've got an online pairing tool called Lender Match, which is a free way to enter some information about your project and what you're looking for funding for and get connected to those lenders. Lori did a great job explaining the services of the Small Business Development Center. So we're really happy to have them as a resource partner and kind of be the boots on the ground counselors for you. They're located throughout the state and throughout the nation. We also have SCORE volunteer mentors. We have 2 women's business centers in Indiana, one in Fort Wayne and one in Indianapolis. And we have a Veterans Business Outreach Center out of the Detroit area to help you in any area of your business that you need help with. So there's a link to find them, sba.gov/local-assistance. I'm talking specifically about SBA programs right now, but they are also going to have their ear to the ground and know about potential other funding options out there, locally or through the state. If you're in an opportunity zone, there are options for opportunity zone investment, which are equity investments. So there's a lot of options out there that they can help you go through. Just a couple more slides and I'll be done, but I did want to touch on our contracting portion. So SBA, we focus on counseling, capital, and contracting. So there are still opportunities to sell goods and services to the federal government. To do so, you have to be registered in sam.gov. We also have a disaster response registry in SAM if you've got something that could be helpful to the COVID-19 pandemic response. We've also have non-dilutive R&D grant funding out there for those techie or advanced type industries that might be able to support the federal government's initiatives. If you have a contract currently in place, certainly keep in touch with your contracting officer at the agency you're doing business with, but we also have procurement center representatives here at SBA who can help you with anything regarding your federal contracts. So we've got these different certification programs to help socially and economically disadvantaged small businesses. That includes, minorities, women, LGBT, et cetera. Women-owned small businesses working in typically male-dominated industries, historically underutilized business zone certified companies, working in those like lower income census tracts, and for service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but we have provided additional flexibilities in regards to the timelines for, becoming certified or maintaining your certification, or things like that. If you're in a hub zone, since it's a place-based certification, we're providing flexibilities if your workers might be teleworking outside of the hub zone, things like that. So that's what's going on the contracting side. But here is our contact information, how you can reach out to our office, or if you're tuning in from another district, how to find your local SBA district office. Everything I've kind of gone over here is available at sba.gov/coronavirus, and stay tuned, like I said, to see what's going to happen with PPP and some of these other programs. So here is my contact information. That's my direct line and email. So anybody can feel free to reach out to me at any time. So turning it back over, I think I have said quite enough. So back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. That was awesome. I really think it gave a great idea. One question I think that you may not have an answer to, but I think might be on the minds of our attendees is what does it look like kind of going forward? Obviously, they haven't renewed another round of like PPP or opened any of that back up. Do you have any sense of kind of which way the wind may be blowing for them?
So the PPP was a brand new federal program that SBA and Treasury stood up in 6 days following the signing of the CARES Act, and has been undergoing real-time changes. I mean, I think we're up to like 20 some IFRs, interim final rules for the program. So I would not presume to know what's on the mind of our Congress folks and our, in our executive branch to know, how all this is going to hash out. There have been so many iterations and versions of different acts and, suggestions. And until, the president signs off on that and we have our directive at SBA and Treasury, I would not want to presume to know what it's going to look like moving forward. But I assume that they will be trying to make it as easy as possible while still being cognizant that we are working with taxpayer dollars and trying to be responsible for how we use those. But they are looking at things like making the forgiveness aspect even easier. But I think it's just a balancing act with how to do that responsibly. So all that to say, I don't know.
But I think that's good. And I think that helps us all kind of understand that really what we should be doing is following the news, making sure we know what's coming through, and then engaging with folks like you who, as you get the information, will be able to really give clarity through it. So thank you. Appreciate it. That's it for Lindsay. Lawrence is on now. Hi, Lawrence. We will turn it over to you to talk a little bit about the Indiana Restart Grant.
Yeah, great. Appreciate that. Sorry to come in a little bit late. I really just want to say thanks for the invitation and opportunity just to talk very briefly about the Indiana Restart Grant. This is really interesting program. We think it does, really valuable work. It's specifically tailored for small businesses that have not been able to access any of the other federal programs. So particularly PPP and the EIDL. So if you weren't able to access those programs or didn't choose to for whatever reason, the IEDC is managing a program called the Restart Grant, and you can submit for up to $10,000 relief, in grant relief. So there's a few eligibility requirements for this. The business has to be registered in Indiana, must have less than 50 employees, must have had less than 5 million in revenue in 2019, must have been profitable in 2019, and the business has to be able to demonstrate a monthly revenue loss of at least 40% compared to 2019. And so we've got a great team that stood up here that's able to quickly process those applications. I know that there's a little bit of complication and sometimes difficulty for these very small businesses to get the documents they need that that the grant approval process requires to be able to give a grant back to the small business. But we've been very happy to be able to work with the ISBDC and the advisor network over there. And I know that they're always available to help small businesses with their profit and loss statements. And if they have any questions around the type of documentation they require to show that the bills, the loss of revenue and the bills that they have, because there's sort of a little bit of confusion is that it's not just sort of a straight cash grant. It goes against business expenses, so primary utilities and other things. There's a list of that available on the website. But so you simply you submit your profit and loss information, your bill receipts, and then the grant assessment team looks at that, does the calculations, and then very quickly gets back an assessment of that, and then you work with a pay agent, and then the funds are just transferred directly to you. So it's a very easy way to get cash in your hands, and because it's done on a monthly basis, there are sort of if you don't meet the full 10,000 cap for the program, in the previous months, then you can resubmit each month until you hit that cap, so that there's always until you hit the cap, there's going to be continued funds available to help you to help support those small businesses that are really suffering so much right now with the decline in overall consumer activity and the restrictions in place for consumers because of the coronavirus. So that's sort of it. I mean, I just encourage everybody to share the program, with anybody that you think could benefit from it. There's been a large appropriation for this, and there's lots of resources still available that can be accessed. And SBDC is here to help for any business that needs assistance in the documentation and the forms.
That's great, Lawrence. Thank you so much for taking the time. It doesn't look like we have any direct questions at the current moment, but we'll make sure anybody on has the ability to get a hold of all of our panelists today in case they have any further questions or anything like that. So thank you
absolutely.
again.
I'm fully available anytime. Please reach out to me directly, and I'll help you. A lot of times, it's one of the team leaders that's really the most knowledgeable, but we're very fast to respond, and we want to make sure that the funds are get into the hands of the businesses that need it as fast as possible. So please, do not hesitate to contact me directly.
Awesome. And thank you to all of our panelists. So just kind of to wrap up today, I want to once again plug the stayinbiz.org website. I think Lori talked about it in her conversation. Also, the SBA website and the IEDC website, those are all great resources for everybody as far as figuring out how to be supported through this kind of uncertain and shaky time that we're all living through. I also, let me pause again and see if there's anything that comes through as questions go. It looks like there has been a question here. And so let's go with, and any of the three panelists can jump in here, and maybe even everybody will. So what is the best way to find local financial assistance programs available? Anybody want to take a stab at that?
So I'll step in there since it's local. I definitely think that the boots on the ground referenced earlier, your local small business development advisor, keeping ear to the ground for those programs in counties or your local cities or towns that have been made available. So that might be a great question to approach your local SBDC center to ask about those. It's kind of a constantly changing picture, but certainly the advisors are trying to keep as well informed as possible on any program that might benefit a small business owner.
That's great. Either of the other panelists want to weigh in on that? It's okay if not.
I think that about covers it for the local.
Perfect. Okay, so then the last thing that we have today is thank you. So thank you to our panelists, Lori, Lindsay, Lawrence. The triple L's came through for us today. It was a perfect way to have today. So thank you for being part of our day. Thank you for talking about things. Again, I want to send back to, we're going to be doing these webinars every Friday at noon through March of 2021. As of right now, that's how long these are going to go. Each week's going to be a different topic. And so next week, we're going to be talking best business practices with Tracy Davis. She'll be here to talk through kind of what do we see as business, what is small business, what are gaps that we often see when we're working with those companies, but also what are things that you should be sensitive to and be thinking about as we kind of move forward in the hopefully soon post-COVID world. That is all that we have today. If you have any questions or anything, please let us know. One last call to make. Everybody that attended today will get a post webinar survey. We would really appreciate it if you'd take the time to fill that out, to give us your feedback. Tell us what you liked, what you thought could be different, what you'd like to see us work on in the future. If you have a topic for a webinar, we'd love to hear what you think we should be talking about to help small businesses. Another call out that Lori made is that she mentioned marketing help was one of the biggest things that they see with small businesses coming to them. In 2 weeks, we'll be doing digital marketing as well. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, we'll make sure we follow up with emails and contacts for everybody. And have a great day.